Oh my goodness, we're now only 3 days away from the Switch 2 blowout on April 2nd, and as you probably know, every day we've been counting down to that day with a new topic and sometimes a new guest every day. And this time we have a very special guest, being Tyler from My Retro Life, to discuss, as you might have guessed, a retro-based topic. We want to discuss whether some of our favorite series that haven't had a new game in some years, if not many years, if they could possibly return on Switch 2. Tyler, how are you doing? Are you excited for the Switch 2 blowout? And yeah, what's up?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you so much, Andre. Yeah, I'm super excited for the Switch reveal, the Switch 2 game reveal. Hopefully we're going to see so many games in this new Direct coming up. And I'm just so excited for old IPs, maybe some new IPs. But really, you know, I'm all about the retro. So it's the old IPs I'm really wanting. But yeah, there's plenty. I've been dancing around in my head, so many different ideas of what could possibly be, what may be on the horizon. And, you know, Nintendo very rarely disappoints. So I'm expecting them to pull out some pretty nice little nostalgia nuggets for us.
It's funny you say that, because we just recently had Nintendo Direct right before this discussion, in which they announced the return of two borderline retro games at this point, being Tomodachi Life, I believe, and Rhythm Heaven, both of which hadn't had an installment in I think, roughly 10 years, if not longer. And so it seems like Nintendo is open to revisiting, you know, some of their series that haven't gotten a new game recently, and hoping that they aim even older. So real quick, before we get to our individual games that we hope could be back, or maybe we think won't be back ever, do you think there's a chance we'll get any other, like, older series returning here, at least on April 2nd?
You know, the one that comes to mind that I really, based on the evidence we've been seeing with this console and its new kind of peripherals, you know, that kind of mouse-looking peripheral.
Right.
I can't wait for that to be totally revealed. But I honestly think we might be getting a new Mario Paint. At least fingers crossed. Like, I grew up with the original Mario Paint. I don't know if you had it, but like, I had it as a kid and I loved it. I loved it so much, and it was just so much fun. It had so much character in that game. Like, I would just kind of play that. Oh, there it is. That's so awesome. Yeah, man. Like, I would immerse myself into the world they created within this little, you know, it's just a paint app basically. But I used to immerse myself into this thing, and it was so much fun playing this game as a kid. And I think it would be great to introduce it to my daughter. You know, I can introduce her to the original, the retro one, but why not a new installment?
I love that idea, and I think actually the launch period, or the blowout period, April 2nd, would be the best time to get it out there. Like, that's what people are going to be curious about the mouse. It could be something they just build into the Switch. I know Nintendo doesn't love to give things away for free, but this might be a good exception, especially depending on how much of a game it actually is. Mario Paint originally, of course, wasn't a game at all, but the difference is these days, I mean, it wasn't really a game, it was more of a creative tool, besides the awesome fly swatting game. But the difference these days is that, you know, almost everyone has access to Photoshop, right? So how does Nintendo make this feel unique and Nintendo-like, while not just being a worst version of, like, you know, Photoshop or even MS Paint? So I wonder if there's anything else they could do new there. Like, could they add some light gameplay elements, like maybe where you have to paint within an environment to help a character out or something, or anything else fun like that, you know?
Yeah, I think there's so much. I mean, technology has gone so far into the future from, you know, 30 plus years ago. It is now, since the original Mario Paint. So I think there's a lot of interconnectivity you can do with, like, a Miiverse sort of, you know, setup, a little world where you can post social media content, your creations directly to it. You know, kind of take a page from Mario Maker. And I almost feel like Mario Maker might have been a testing grounds for more software like this, or you know, revitalization of old IP like Mario Paint even. So, you know, creating, you know, obviously Paint, you know, art, stuff like that. But, you know, Mario Paint was so much more than that. You had the music that you could create. You can create your own music, you know, using the Super Nintendo sound chip, you know. It was very fun doing that. And so, I don't know, I think there's limitless possibilities with the new Mario Paint.
Yeah, I love that idea. And if not Mario Paint, some other kind of creative tool for the event, because it seems perfect for the mouse functionality. I think it'd be really cool if they let you create things in Mario Paint and use them elsewhere. You know, like maybe I can paint a wall in a 3D Mario game using a texture I made in Mario Paint or something, right? But I know Nintendo might be a little iffy on that, because you could draw all kinds of things, right? But I think that'd be cool.
That's true. Wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool though if you could actually use Mario Paint, make something in there and then use it as your desktop, like the Switch's
the theme.
The UI. That's
right.
the word I was looking for. Yeah. Imagine if you could create something in Mario Paint, like a piece of art, and then use it as your system UI as you scroll through the different screens. That would be so cool.
That's an amazing idea. I love it, and that'd be such a great way of tying that game into what will hopefully be custom themes on Switch 2. That's brilliant. Let's hope it happens. All right, let's move on to more of our individual games that we think we could see or maybe never see again. I'll go with an optimistic one as well, because I think it's now or never for this game, because there is a bit of a precedent for it, and that is Pilotwings. This is the game that only premieres at system launches. It's been there for Super NES, N64, went away for a bit, then came back on 3DS, and we haven't seen it again. So I think that was, 2011? So I think this is the best chance of seeing it anytime soon, if ever again, is at the Switch 2 launch. If they have some, if they can use elements of the Switch 2's hardware, unique elements of Switch 2's hardware, to make it feel distinct. Like maybe the mouse could factor in, or maybe there's more to it that we don't know. But yeah, I think this is the best chance it has. And if it's not here, I don't think we see it, the entire generation.
Yeah, no, I think it's do or die for Pilotwings, and honestly, I'm right there with you. I'm hoping that there's a new Pilotwings because, like you said, it was almost used as a tech demo for the new consoles that were coming out. Starting with Super Nintendo, back with the Mode 7 effects that they were using on that. It really showed off the Super Nintendo, and even each additional entry, 3DS. I remember that really showing off what the 3DS could do.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, Switch has HD Rumble with the Joy-Cons, and there's so many. I mean, the Joy-Cons immediately make me think of the jetpack in Pilotwings.
Oh yeah, you hold them like this.
Could do one, if you could hold them like this, yeah, and then just like use one side or the other to ignite your jet stream, like that would be so cool.
You tilt it to move. Oh, that is too perfect. I love this idea. Yeah, this needs to happen because I think this is its best chance, and it could look beautiful with the Switch 2's upgraded hardware. So that might be a great showcase, as you were saying, because it is often basically a tech showcase for the system. Like Pilotwings 64 was like borderline mind blowing. If it weren't for Mario 64 at the same time, it would have completely blown my mind. So.
Well, and Pilotwings is just such an easygoing, relaxing gaming experience. It's such a good palate cleanser when you think about it. When you're playing these other like action-packed games, like say like Metroid Prime 4 launches with a oh my gosh, it's so nice to, after these hardcore gaming experiences, to just pop on Pilotwings and relax with this like really awesome mellow music. You feel like you're on an island resort. I really hope there's a new Pilotwings.
Yeah, same here. All right, what's the next game you think we either could see or won't see? And it doesn't necessarily have to be on April 2nd, but at any time during the Switch 2.
I think a game that we won't see, unfortunately, to my chagrin, is Wave Race. I don't think we're going to see it because Nintendo has given me little faith that they have any interest in doing anything with Wave Race. But it makes me so sad because I love Wave Race 64. That is one of my favorite games of all time, if I'm being honest with you. Kind of like what I was saying with Pilotwings, it's such a relaxing experience. I don't understand what it is. Something about the soundtrack. It feels like there's a jazz band called the Rippingtons. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but it's like 90s elevator music, but with some electric guitar, and like it's so good. And Wave Race was so cutting edge at the time with the wave effects. I mean, even to this day, it's one of the best looking wave racing games, if you want, jet ski racing games there is. And so I think with new technology and graphics where they are today, I'm hoping we get one, but I don't think they're going to do it, man.
Yeah, I hope you're wrong, because I also want a sequel. And it's another one of those games, actually kind of like Pilotwings, where it's been there at the launch window. I forget when it came out on the Game Boy, but N64, it was out a few months after. GameCube actually was a launch title, and I think that game's underrated too. I think Blue Storm is fantastic. I would love to see a new version, with better visuals, better reflections, better water, all that stuff. And with actual online now, it'd be so great. But I think, to your point too, like, we know Mario Kart's coming, and that's basically the only racing franchise Nintendo seems to care about these days, sadly. F-Zero 99 is like the one exception at this point. So yeah, I think you're probably right. But I hope you're wrong, because I really need to see it, so.
I hope I'm wrong too, man.
All right, well, here's another one of my picks for a game that, oh god, I actually, for whatever reason, I am feeling stronger about, actually, there's a few reasons why. I am feeling stronger about this one, but it kind of ties in what you were saying about Wave Race, and I just mentioned it, being F-Zero. I think this is the time for F-Zero to finally come back. I don't know if it'll be there on April 2nd, but I think during the lifespan of the Switch, or Switch 2, it will come out. Especially because we have seen some slight reinvigorated interest with F-Zero. I think like we had, the series, almost the entire series, or I think the entire series recently coming to NSO, minus GX, of course. That could be there as part of the GameCube NSO. There is one in the future, though. But I think also with F-Zero 99, it really showed them exploring, like, hey, does this IP have a life left in it? Or, let's reinvigorate this IP for a future, full-on game. And I think this could be the time. I don't think it'll be here on April 2nd, because I don't think they want to compete with Mario Kart in any way. But it could be, But I think at some point we'll see a new F-Zero online, and it'll be amazing.
People have been asking for F-Zero for a long time. It's one of my favorites as well. I really hope that it comes out. And I was in the same train of thought with you when F-Zero 99 came out. First of all, I thought it was so awesome.
It's so good.
It's just so fast-paced and in your face, and just, you don't know what's going to happen in that race. 99 racers on the screen. And I really thought we'd be getting another F-Zero after F-Zero 99, but then I really thought about it, man, and Mario Kart 9 is using, what is it now, like 25?
24
there's like
racers.
A lot of
24
racers on the track, and that's more than Mario Kart's ever done before.
Yeah.
And I thought about how a lot of developers work, and F-Zero 99, maybe it was just a test for what they could do with Mario Kart. I hope not. I hope there really is a new F-Zero, and it's not just a test. But man, I would love a new F-Zero. Great IP.
It's so fun. Yeah, every time I go back to like GX recently, I'm like, man, this game still feels amazing. You brought up, with the 24 racers, that does kind of chip away a little bit of like what, before 99, how F-Zero usually worked, which was with GX and X, you had 30 racers, and I think they'd at the least have to bump that up to 50 or 60, I think, were to come back. I don't know if they go full on 99 again, just because that's a lot of racers, but they could, I think, pretty easily do 60 without it being maybe too chaotic, as 99 can often be, but I think that's a good thing in that game's case. But yeah, here's how it comes back. It could look amazing, and especially because I think it'd be nice to have another racing series from Nintendo beyond just Mario Kart, especially on the Switch, where we had almost 10 years of this same freaking Mario Kart game and almost nothing else.
I know, I completely agree, and I really think it's important that Nintendo invest in these older IP. Don't let them just fall away, and there's value. There's value in these things, and the longer Nintendo waits to put out another entry, the more that value diminishes. I really, really believe that, and so they would be smart, especially with F-Zero. F-Zero has its fans.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, kind of along those same lines is another series that hasn't been quite as neglected that you almost would think it is, just based on how people react to it these days, and that is Star Fox. We have gone an entire generation now without a new Star Fox game. The last game was Star Fox Zero on Wii U, which I am a mild defender of. I think that game gets a little bit too much hate for what it is. I think it's at its core a competent game. And I think I do feel in my heart of hearts that it is time for it to come back. I think Nintendo doesn't want this IP to not be in the public consciousness for too long, and I think it will come back on Switch 2. Again, not necessarily on April 2nd, but I think they will bring it back, especially with them, seemingly expanding their IP in other ways as well, like in theme parks and movies. Not that Star Fox would necessarily get either of those, but I do think they want more of their IP out there in the public mind. I think Star Fox has so much potential that they haven't fully tapped in yet. I mean, you have a cast of like talking, fun talking animal characters. That's like inherently appealing on some level, and I think they just need to figure it out, right? I don't think Star Fox can come back as it has before, but I think it could be something new.
Yeah, I think Star Fox, there's too much value in that IP. They've got to revitalize it. And it may be one of those things where they're just kind of biding their time, waiting for, I don't know, interest to become really big again. And I think we're at that point. I think people are constantly asking about a new Star Fox. With Star Fox Zero being such a failure on so many fronts, really, not just critically, but also, sales. I think they were like, we need to wait a while. But I do think Nintendo would be remiss to not see the potential in Star Fox. I mean, growing up, we looked to Star Fox as one of the tent poles. I mean, like, I don't think consoles launched with it. None of the Nintendo consoles launched with a Star Fox game, but man, I mean, Star Fox on Super Nintendo, game changer. Star Fox on Nintendo 64, another game changer. I mean, you started getting a little dicey with the GameCube era and their experimentation. And there's a lot to be said there. But man, it's time for Star Fox. Totally on board with you in that one. I hope Nintendo does it. This is the console. This is the one.
I agree. I'm right there with you. It's almost to its benefit that Star Fox Zero came out on the Wii U, because it could have, again, I think they hated it a little overrated, but it could have damaged the IP, but it was on a system no one owned, so it didn't even matter, So yeah, here's hoping it comes back in some form. Do you have any other games you think either could come back or probably won't come back on Switch 2?
Yes, I do, and I think this one could come back because it's one of these games that, again, it was so popular on said system where it debuted, and that was Nintendo DS. And I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but Nintendogs. I really think that this could still do well if released on current gen Nintendo hardware, and we've missed it for a while now. And I thought it was always such a fun little franchise that you could explore more with. You could do more things with that, like just be creative, like Nintendo always is. They'll always come up with something new, and Nintendogs is something that my daughter loves too. So like, I would love to get her a brand new one and just have more realistic. It was a glorified virtual pet for sure, but man, it was so much fun. And I think, I don't know if you fall in line with this way of thought, but with there's some sort of schematics and different things have come out in the leaks for the Switch 2, and patents were made for like a detachable screen. Have you heard much about this?
I've heard. Yeah.
I wonder if there's going to be a detachable screen. We don't know for sure yet. I know a lot of people are like, no, it's not going to happen. But I'm like, don't count it out. That would be an interesting accessory to release that would allow for additional touchscreen gameplay. You can bring back, essentially making your Switch a DS.
Right.
And I think it would be cool to have that and a new Nintendogs game.
Yeah, I think it actually would be cool, and it honestly doesn't even need the second screen. I don't think it already presumably has a touchscreen just like the Switch 1. It's just that no one used it. But Nintendogs would be a great one. Even beyond that, maybe the mouse could stand in as your cursor, or maybe gyro controls, pet your dog or whatever, and you can feel it through the controller. There's a lot of potential there, and I think that'd be really cool, particularly given the recent announcement of Nintendo Today, and how they want you to check the app every day. This would be a smart way for Nintendo to get so you're turning on your Switch every day. Well, I gotta take care of my dog, time to turn on the Switch, and that pair of the Animal Crossing would be really compelling.
Yeah, and like the Joy-Cons, you think about your hands as a method of petting your dog. If you're holding the Joy-Cons, you can kind of go like this with your right hand or your left hand, or throw a ball, stuff like that. And you've got the motion controls this time, because Nintendogs on DS didn't really have. You had the stylus that you could use, but there's so much more potential. I mean, you saw that with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and you're throwing the Pokeball. I think there's stuff you could do, and there's stuff to still explore with Nintendogs.
I think I think this game would actually be surprisingly hype if they showed it during the April 2nd event, right? Like, you just show off a room, and then the dog pans up to the screen or pants onto the camera, it'd be amazing.
Oh, I think people would kind of lose their minds.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. They would. It'd be huge. I think I would sell a lot of people on the Switch 2 instantly, so. All right, I'm going to move on to 2 games, my final 2 I have here. I'll start off with the one that I don't think will ever come back. Stunt Race FX. I love that game. I'm probably the biggest fan of that game.
Oh, man.
It's never coming back though. It's a dead franchise and it upsets me greatly.
It's not coming back. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
That hurts.
It's I had it back in the day. I wouldn't call it one of my favorites, but I definitely enjoyed it. And it was such a the FX chip on your Super Nintendo, along with Star Fox and Stunt Racer FX. I mean, it was bringing this next gen feel to older hardware.
Yeah.
And so there was this wow factor with Stunt Racer FX, but man, and it was cute, man. It was cartoony, like the
eyes,
way that the wheels and the eyes were detachable. It was like these little cars were like little creatures.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like almost like a little Pixar movie, like Cars. Like it's but before Cars was ever a thing.
Right. Good point. There were
and so
there.
But it's not coming. It's not happening.
That hurts. You're right, but that hurts. All right, well, the game I think... I say it has a chance. This is one I'm least certain on, just given the fact it's been so freaking long. But we're still, we've had a lot of Mario sports games over time, including 3 entries on Switch of the Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, and Mario Strikers. But we're missing that 4th one, being Mario Baseball, or Mario, or whatever that series is called. Yes! I love that game, especially on the GameCube, but we haven't had a new one since the Wii version back in 2008. I think they're overdue, and, if they don't want to repeat themselves, they kind of need to do something newish, and Mario Baseball would be a great way of getting at this point, a fresh new sport out for Mario, without, repeating themselves from the Switch era.
Baseball is basically my favorite sport, so I would be completely on board with this, and I think you're right. It's been too long. I think you might be right also. I think you might be onto something, Andre, because have you seen these recent tweets from like Seattle Mariners baseball club and stuff?
Point.
Like Nintendo.
Yeah.
Nintendo's actually a sponsor again for the Seattle Mariners, like they were back in the day with Ken Griffey, the Ken Griffey Jr. days.
Love those games.
Nintendo was a sponsor back then, and they were teaming up with games, and I guess, obviously their logo inside the stadium and stuff like that. But now you've got Nintendo of today with their it even said Switch 2 on one of the uniforms. Yeah, so I think we might be getting a new baseball game of some sort. Maybe it's Mario. I think it'd be smart to be Mario, but that would be interesting if Nintendo was working on a like MLB game.
Yeah, that'd be something.
That'd be crazy.
You know what's funny? I've never really been a huge like sports guy, but I did kind of miss that era when Nintendo would like make these, sports, or had a studio making these sports games. We had the Ken Griffey games, we had some NBA games from like left field, who also did like Excite Bike 64. Then they got rid of that studio, stopped working with them, and yeah, we just stopped getting those kind of sports games from Nintendo. Like there's more arcade-like experiences, and they're still some of my favorites. So I would love for that to kind of come back.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Well, I know we're about out of time here, Tyler. So, is there any other games you just want to quickly shout out that you think either will or won't come back on Switch 2?
All right, these are just a couple of really quick, wish list items here. Basically, I really hope we see a new Eternal Darkness.
Ooh.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's some sort of legal issues or something with Silicon Knights, I think was the developer of that. And that company folded, and the rights to this franchise are completely tied up in something. But I loved that game, man. On GameCube, that was such an incredible experience. And Nintendo, I think maybe they play it too safe sometimes with all the family-friendly IP. You got to put out some stuff that's a little more adult, I think, for gamers wanting that experience. And from Nintendo, I think it'd be very refreshing. And Eternal Darkness was just such a cerebral survival horror game.
It was,
with all the insanity effects that would happen in that game, and just, oh my gosh, I think it'd be so cool to finally get another entry, but it's not going to happen. Total wish list. And then I'm going to say it again. It's not going to happen. I don't know why Nintendo doesn't make it work, but Earthbound, man.
Oh, yeah.
Earthbound. Like, I mean, it seems so logical to me with all of the hype that game gets these days and all the love. It's only grown in popularity. I think obviously there's a lot of investment in a giant new Earthbound game. Giant game of that size on a modern day console is going to cost a lot of money for Nintendo to make. But I think it would be worth it, man. I would love to see another Earthbound.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I think part of it is that it's so like intrinsic to, I think, the creator of the game. I forget his first name, but Itoi. And I don't think he's created any other games outside of that. So unless until he has an interest in making a new one, I don't think it's going to happen. But I'm right there with you. It'd be amazing to see that come back. And I think after like all the the kind of mysterious nature of Mother 3, just with how it's never been officially released here, but has the fan translation. So a lot of people, if they haven't played it, they've at least heard of it. I think it would be compelling for at least a large segment of people for a new Earthbound, and it'd be fun to see that game in a modern setting too, with like you get a smartphone, because Earthbound's always embraced the present, right? So I think that could be really fun if they did a new one.
It has, yeah, it really has, and it's always kind of taken our culture, American culture, through the lens of a Japanese developer.
It's awesome.
And yeah, if you took today, with just all of our advancements and just all of our crazy culture the way it is today, to kind of make fun of it a little bit, make a satire out of some of that, and just the Earthbound was so deep too in its storyline, and what it was trying to say about like it had like spiritual overtones and stuff like that, and I think there's a lot you could say about our world today with Earthbound, and so it'd be great, but it's not going to happen.
Probably not, sadly, but that is a great final hope for the Switch 2, because I think a lot of people would love to see that happen, and it would be a very fun and unique experience to have. Anyways, on that, Tyler, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for joining me. Where can people follow you at if they want to see more from you? Which they should, because you have a lot of compelling stuff on your channel.
Thanks, man. Yeah, just search for My Retro Life on YouTube. The channel will pop up. Same thing with like Twitter, Instagram. You'll find me there. And Facebook, of course. I'm not on all the social media platforms. YouTube is definitely the go-to. But yeah, anybody that loves old school retro gaming, but through my dad's film lens. My dad recorded hundreds of hours of old home videotapes of me growing up with my cousins, and all the old Nintendo consoles. Here we are talking about this brand new Nintendo console, man. And I just think about all the old Nintendo consoles that my dad recorded and got of us on tape. And it's a new generation. It's a new time. And, I love to celebrate those old days, but I'm looking forward to what's coming.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll include some more retro experiences, if not just through NSO, right? So we'll see.
Yes, absolutely. You gotta cater to, you gotta look back at your past lovingly while moving forward. That's what I believe.
Exactly. Good way of putting it. Thank you so much for joining us again, Tyler. You can find links to all Tyler's stuff in the description below. Otherwise, keep it locked to GameXplain here for tomorrow being, I think, or for our next countdown video, and we'll have a new topic. Should be a lot of fun. With that, we'll catch you later. Bye, everyone.